All right. How's everyone doing? Sorry for the long delay there. Just wanted to make sure we give everybody a chance to get in. So first of all, just apologies for pushing the AMA to Sunday. We've had some conversations in the trust channel about how these things are going down. So I just want to apologize. It's not something that I intend to keep doing, but from time to time, obviously development takes priority for me. So there are conversations ongoing about what we can do within the trust to kind of provide some other ways to keep the community engaged, and we'll keep exploring them. But until we've come to any kind of formal agreement, I will keep up doing what we're doing right now, and that is to try to stick to weekly dev chats. But if there are any changes to the schedule, I will try my best to notify people with a little bit more time. So, okay, so that's that out the way. I just wanted to get it out there. First thing I would like to say, though, is that we did develop a feature and push it out last week. So it's a shame we didn't get to chat because it would have been a good week probably to talk about what was coming. So the feature request dashboard is now live. Hopefully you guys have all checked it out. If not, head over to the GMR Center, log in, and just tap your user button in the top right corner, and you'll see there's a new menu option now called Feature Requests. And when you tap that, you'll see the new system is live. And this is actually, I think it's a really cool system. Some people did ask why we built this, and it's part of the questions, I think, from the AMA that I have on the list. So I will talk about that in a moment. But before we get to that, it's a really cool way for you guys to actually start sending your requests, and we can actually start to see what really matter to people, because the way these rise and fall up the table of feature requests. So we've introduced a Reddit-like system where you can vote up and down, and we have a pretty interesting algorithm. Maybe we could publish some details on that, in terms of how we calculate a positivity index that helps us rank these feature requests as well, with more intuitive data rather than just the amount of people who have boosted them, as we call it. Because obviously we want to take into consideration boosts versus slows versus time since request was made. So that is obviously all contributing. And yeah, so it's been, for me, it was pretty interesting piece of development for me to get back into things, back into the swing of things, and we delivered it on time as well. And I think so far the people who have used it have enjoyed being able to actually see their ideas propagate up the list. I think Phoenixer is currently occupying spot 1 and 2 in the hot list. So obviously some good ideas coming from Phoenixer there. So already you can see when you put a request in how that moves through the development cycle. So we go from, I think there's 7 different request types. Let me see. So we have initial one is requested, then it goes into the shortlist of ideas. So if me or Bestmark like what we see, we put it in the shortlist. And then from that point on, when we decide what's going to be put on our backlog, we will pick from that short list of ideas and put it on the backlog. And then that means then when we actually go into the sprints, we pick from those ideas some of those features that we're going to work on. We might not deliver them in a single sprint, but we'll certainly start working on them from time to time. And that's when it goes into in progress. And then if you like the happy path, the final path, the final destination of the happy path would be delivered. So I think right now we've got a couple that are shortlisted. One of them is in progress, and a bunch of them are still requested. That we've not really had much of a chance to go through and actually shortlist a bunch of them, because I think some of them probably require a more broader discussion, or at least some time for you guys to talk it out in the chat. So obviously, if you're not familiar with how the feature request dashboard works, each request has its own dedicated chat, so you can duke it out and talk about it there, and that might change your opinion on that particular feature request. So that might change how you vote, because once you've boosted or slowed a request, you can obviously freely change your mind. There are two other statuses as well to cover: rejected and cancelled. So if we reject them for whatever reason, we can pop it into rejected, and it tells you as well, so at least you know what's happening. And cancelled is obviously the other unhappy path destination in terms of these feature requests. Okay, so with that said, I think I will quickly talk about what we've been doing since, and then we can move on to the actual AMA points. So as you will have guessed probably from the feature request dashboard, the timelines is currently in progress. So hopefully we're going to get that delivered pretty soon. So I spent a few days this week just basically recontextualizing where I was up to, because there was a lot of progress made on timelines, by the way, before the pause. But now I'm recontextualized and I'm starting to cut code again. So maybe next time we speak, we'll have an idea of how long that will take to actually develop. But yeah, definitely something that is now being worked on, which is cool. And even cooler is that you guys can actually see it. I might actually, from time to time, drop into the feature requests that are in progress and use their dedicated chat to actually talk about some of the stuff that we've done from time to time. I think that's probably a good use case for this dashboard as well. All right, cool. So that's kind of where we're up to in terms of application development on the GMR Center. The game is, there's no updates on that yet. Nothing has changed in terms of newly things to report. We are still in the same situation where we expect to have the game in the hands of the mod team probably next week. We were told mid-October that we will have the game ready for mods to play test. So as far as I'm aware, we are not behind on that. So hopefully next week we will have the game in the hands of the moderators. And I think from that point, it's just a case of within the trust. Sorry, I did say moderators, but we're going to be putting it in the hands of the trust, not the moderators yet. But that might be part of the general strategy for release. In terms of actual release timelines, the game and the release will be something that operations, myself, Ryan, and the marketing team will obviously work closely together to kind of decide how that's going to go down. Fitos obviously is going to be helping put together a marketing strategy, but it's not just down to him, it's down to the rest of the team as well to support him in getting him what he needs. So for me, the first step is that this next week delivery for the trust, getting the game in the hands of the trust. We've got some open questions right now in the trust in terms of some directional options in terms of how we market the game and present the game. So we need to iron that out. And then hopefully we can present something to the community once that's done. So in terms of game development, there's no great update on that other than that hopefully next week the trust will have it in their hands. And yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. So I'm going to turn to some questions that were sent in prior to the previous meeting that was cancelled. So I'm just going to answer some of them now, and then I'll move on to some of the ones that I see popping up in the chat, which might also be these, because I know Frank is posting some questions right now, which I think were already in our moderator chat. So
yeah, they're just the ones from the.
So, I see. I think 3 or 4 questions that were posted. 2 questions. Sorry. 2 questions that were posted by Emfrid. So hopefully you're here and can listen to this. But if not, I'm sure there'll be some kind of recap anyway for anyone else who's not present for their questions to be answered. So the first one is, from my understanding, people are working on the games day by day. So what was developed in the last 4 weeks? Please, some details. So I'm not sure, Emfrid. Emfrid. I'm not sure what kind of involvement you've had in the general AMAs that we've been having over the last few months. So you might not know, but the Hammerbyte team is the third-party studio that develops the game. So they're not employed by GMR directly. These are not developers that work for us. It's a studio that we're working with to develop the game. And we have contracted them to develop the game. Now, obviously, there are billable hours, and in terms of their schedule, it's not something that we manage. However, we're told we agree a kind of like outline of what we want and by when, and depending on the size of our budget on that particular billable period, they'll obviously then work with us to kind of decide what can get delivered and by when. And right now, the deadline, if you like, that we're working to is a mid-October handover for our trust members, and beyond that. I actually, if I'm honest, I'm not sure that there's an awful lot more work to do on the game now. I think we're in the home stretch. But once we have the opportunity to play test it and answer some of the lingering questions that within the trust that have been raised over the last couple of weeks, then we can decide in terms of a release strategy. But I think we're getting to a point now with the game where it's not about development questions anymore in terms of when it's going to be delivered. It's about us as a team agreeing a strategy for the game, and that's not just for marketing, that's also for like just in general how we position and promote the game. And yeah, so that's where we are with the game. So yeah, I don't know whether some people have the wrong impression, like they're not working within the GMR team, they're a studio that's contracted out. And the reason we did that from the first instance was because we wanted to test working with a studio to understand the pain points of a studio trying to work within blockchain gaming. So this has obviously been super useful for us. We've developed an API that the game team have first-class access to that is super simple to use, super intuitive, and allows them essentially to build a client and we provide the back end. So yeah, that's kind of why we worked in that way. All right, so the second one is what is the main reason that games are not published? Well, one game is published. If you go to the Play Store and type in GMR Center Battle Leet Infected, you should find it. So you can play that now. It's free to play. There's no blockchain integration. That is definitely a kind of on-ramp to the platform rather than a standalone money-making game, although there are ads. So, there is a revenue stream there. I don't want to mischaracterize the release, but certainly that game is published. The flagship game is Battle Leet, and that is not published yet. That is what we've been talking about the last 5 minutes, actually. So in terms of the main reason why it's not published yet is that they take time. It's not easy. We've been developing Battle Leet just over 2 years now, which may seem like a long time. I know, obviously, when you think about it within the context of AAA games, 2 or 3 years is pretty fast. We're not a AAA game. I'm not trying to suggest we are, but what we are is a small team that have navigated through a challenging crypto environment, and yet we're on the cusp of releasing the game. So think of that what you will, but that's all I've got to say on that matter. So in terms of the main reason, that's it really. It's just development takes time, and we are now on the cusp of a release, which is pretty cool as far as I'm concerned. Okay, cool. So hopefully that answered your questions, dude. Moving on, I got a question forwarded from Mist. When timeline, and is Ryan still alive? Now, obviously, the second part of that was probably tongue-in-cheek. Yes, he is. There's obviously always going to be questions until Ryan clarifies his situation in terms of his ability to actually resume normal duties. And unfortunately, we don't have any updates on that. In terms of the timeline, like I mentioned, that is in development right now. So obviously, you've asked this question prior to this talk, so you would not have known that. But in terms of any kind of feature development updates that you guys are kind of looking for, my advice would be first to check with the feature request dashboard, check that feature is actually there, and then you should see the status of that feature. So I think that's obviously the first port of call. And in terms of like a release date, I don't have that just yet. We don't have an idea of when the timelines will be released. I spent 2.5 days working on it last week and just kind of basically recontextualizing myself, a little bit of UI work. The back end looks largely in place. So I don't think it will be too long, but I certainly don't have a date for that just yet. Okay, cool. And then there was one that I think Fitos might have forwarded the answer in chat, but I'll read it out again anyway and kind of summarize my thoughts on that. So buy high, sell low says, so we already have had polls on the GMR Center and on TG for requests and community input. So we get more polls. I guess that's in reference to the requests and who will work on requests, how big is the team, and what will the time frame for development depending on difficulty of implementation. The community has sent in millions of requests before. Most of them never made it. Even all promises the team of GMR made are far from delivered. Will this be another GMR soon story? I think it's time to come with a decent timeline first, or have I missed this? Okay, so that's a lengthy question, but basically the thrust of the question is, we already have polls. Why do we need feature requests? And you guys suck. We always send requests and you just ignore them. Okay, so sorry for being a little bit facetious there, but that's the general kind of the kind of gist of the question. So I'm not sure if this was shared in the end. I think Vitos did, so apologies if I'm repeating myself. But just to be clear, feature requests are not the same as polls. Polls on the GMR Center are created by the GMR team, and you get limited input, and that's it. Whereas with a feature request, anyone can write one. You have, I think, 2,000 characters to describe the feature that you want. In the future, we'll allow for media to be added as well, although based on the feedback from the feature request dashboard, it looks like that's not a high priority right now, but certainly something we can do. So you get 2,000 characters or so to actually describe the feature you want. So you can go into much more detail, and it's you who gets to do this, not the GMR team. The whole community gets a vote, fine, but there's also the ability to kind of vote down the idea. And most importantly, there's a discussion channel right there inside the feature request. So right away there's a bunch of differences between what a poll offers and what a feature request offers. Also, we've kind of tried to make a shift in the culture of GMR over the last 6 months towards being a community-driven project. So obviously when I started doing dev chats and we started doing votes on what we're going to develop, that was part of it. Whereas this offers a more real-time, finger-on-the-pulse kind of way of the community forwarding their ideas, not me sat here giving you options, but you guys get to talk. And it gives you direct input. Most importantly, or at least just as important, is that we have created a trust and we have appointed Bestmark as the operations manager. And it's going to be partly his responsibility, alongside myself and the rest of the trust in support, of course, to manage things like feature requests and development tasks and how we direct our effort in the future. And one thing that he was really keen to do was to democratize this idea, or at least allow us to see what you guys want. And it was something that he wanted. So for me, it was a perfect little feature to build out to get my hands on the keyboard yet again after the pause. So I think it actually answers a bunch of stuff. It gives you guys direct input in terms of what we want. It allows me to see things and the rest of the team to see things that we wouldn't otherwise have seen. Mark gets access to a tool that allows his job to become much easier in terms of how we shape the development discourse. Like, for example, already looking at the feature request dashboard, I would not have guessed that that OBS and Streamlabs was such a low priority compared to what we're seeing on the dashboard. I know, Ultimo, if you're listening, you're probably scratching your hair out right now. But if it wasn't for something like this, we might end up putting a lot of development hours into features that people just don't want. Whereas what I'm looking at right now, I can see from the top spot right now is the white paper. People want to see that thing updated, although it has been updated. They want to see it go further and faster. So this is obviously going to be a conversation for me and the trust members to talk about. I know that's not necessarily a development feature, but you get what we're saying, right? So I think in short, my answer is that this is not just another poll. This is definitely much more interactive. It's something that one of our valued trust members is going to be able to use to do their tasks, to do their jobs. So, and also, lastly, there was a point that we never actioned stuff that people are sending in, millions of requests, I think the exact quote was, and that we never listened to it. Well, here you get to see what's going on. There's like an actual, there's an actual list of what's happening, you know? So anyway, and you get to see like live updates in the chat. You get to see the development status of it. So I think overall, I think it's a really good feature, and it didn't take too long, just over a week, I think it was, and it was deployed. So not bad. Okay, cool. I see those questions were posted in the general chat as well. So I got them. That's great. So let's see. So Miss asks, do you use AI to help coding? Do you have any support in case you have an issue about coding? I remember some great progress has been made on multi-stream. What was missing to release? Okay, cool. So I think when it comes to AI, I think it's definitely a useful tool. So I do have Copilot in my code editor, and I definitely use ChatGPT when I'm like spitballing like high-level ideas about what approach we might take. I try not to allow Copilot or any kind of AI to actually write code. I think if you are not very technical, I think it's a really powerful tool, and I think it's definitely something that you can find use on, right? But when it comes to kind of complex integrated systems and legacy systems, I know the new GMR Center is only like a couple of years old, but it's already a legacy, right? Like, I mean, it's just the way it is. It's a large code base and it's already a legacy, and AI just, not yet anyway, doesn't have the context to be able to do the code for you. And also, by the way, it's super, super dangerous when you're working with a real application just to allow AI to do stuff. You really need to be careful. So AI is definitely part of the development process for sure. So for example, like I said, Copilot, ChatGPT is super useful in allowing me to spitball ideas. So for example, when it comes to narrowing down, I don't know. I can't even think of a good example right now. I guess when I'm working on product descriptions, let's say, and I don't mean descriptions on the website. I mean, like, I like to write in advance what I'm going to build, and then it's good to drop that into AI and just say, hey, what am I missing here? I guess that's kind of like a good thing. But in terms of the actual code, beyond Copilot, not an awful lot. But even so, Copilot is already great. It definitely speeds up development. Okay, so Coastal Nomad. Oh, sorry, there was another question about the second part about the multi-stream. So the multi-stream app. So I got to a good point. There was a couple of issues that I needed to work on, but that was right about the time when I kind of just hit a brick wall. Not necessarily on this feature, but just in terms of being burnt out. So I just that's kind of what was happening at that time. So it got put on the back burner. So we can pick that up anytime and develop it. So that's kind of where we are with that. But I'll be honest, I'm looking at the feature request dashboard, and people are voting that thing down. I don't think people see it as a priority, and I know Ultimo is seething here to talk about this. So I do apologize to Ultimo, but that seems to be the reality. But I will say, in development, while I was working on it, I thought there was some cool opportunities with a multi-stream application. I don't think it's necessary, I'll be honest, because actually with OBS, you can do it. And I know you can do it because I did it. And I also then re-engineered the solution based on OBS to do it. So I know you can. I know it's not easy. And I'm not saying I'm against having a multi-stream application. I'll just say that I'm not sure whether it is totally worth it. But there are definitely opportunities that I'm more than happy to consider again, should that thing rise up the request feature dashboard. Okay, cool. So All right, Coastal Nomad. When the Battle Leet game is released to the community to play, or when will it be? Or will it be 1-on-1? Or will we have the option to play 3v3? I remember there was a tab for multiplayer option in the game's early edition. So I'm not sure where we are with that, I'll be honest. Definitely 1v1 is going to be ready out of the box. But I'm not sure where we are with the 3v3, but I'll definitely find out. Hopefully we can have a conversation with the Hammerback team next week as we get this thing released to the trust. And then I can get some answers for you on that. Okay, and again, the AI to play against. So Frank asks whether there will be an AI mode where you can just play against AI. So I know the system exists. We implemented it in Battle Leet Infected. We have AI leets. So I'm not sure, again, whether that will be available on the first release. So yeah, apologies, guys. I will get the answers, though, when I speak to the Hammerback team next time. Prasanth, why is Mark's voice being distorted? I do not know. Hopefully you guys are hearing me fine. Looking at the rest of the conversation, it looks like most of you guys are getting them. Okay, cool. All right, so we're about at the end of all the questions that I've seen written in. If there's any questions you guys want to ask with, good old-fashioned voice, please feel free to ask. We can do this for another 5 minutes, I reckon is reasonable. So feel free to drop them in or drop them in the chat. In the meantime, I'm going to up the music. Just interrupt me whenever you're ready.
Mark, Coastal asks, the Gamerverse
so there's a
2D version.
Great question just come in there.
Yep.
The Gamerverse 2D version still on the cards. I really want to do it. I really want to build out the Landed Claim app. So I think basically there's a bunch of stuff that we started on before. I'm going to call it the pause from now on. That's how I'm going to refer to it. So from before the pause, that we can pick back up. So if I remember to do it tomorrow, I'll add it to the feature request dashboard. Or unless somebody else wants to do it, that's fine. If somebody beats me to it, that's good. But yeah, definitely we can do that. The GMR app. So we have a GMR app. We work with a team that does this. That they repackage. Essentially, they take our online application, our web app, and they repackage it into an app. And I'm not sure where we're up to on that. I need to chase that up because Ryan was handling it. I never worked with them really. I think I just worked with a couple of requests that they had. They wanted, I believe the last thing on our side was we needed to introduce a delete account option. So yeah, I mean, I don't even think you need to put that in the feature request. I think I just need to find out what the status is of that and see what we can do. But by the way, though, like just out of curiosity, what would be the difference for you to have a GMR app versus using the website? Like maybe, because so for example, I've installed the web app onto my phone. So like I just literally tap in, it opens up just like an app. I'm just curious if there's any other things more convenient. Yeah, but how so? Like, I'm not busting your balls, miss. I'm just curious.
Can I give my perspective on this?
Yeah, sure. Jump in.
All right. So with a native app, I don't know, built with like React or something like that, it feels just more, it feels less cheap. I don't know. Like I hate going to websites if there's an app. So like, you can have a better menu system in an app generally than what just the website itself offers. Your sign-in stuff, like currently when you sign in, at least on my computer, when I sign into GMR Center, it has to send me an email. I have to click a link. It opens like another tab. Like your sign-in seems like it could be better handled on an app as opposed to this like weird verification that we have right now. But yeah, just like I avoid websites at all costs if I can. Just me personally.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. So it's a bit. There's obviously some real convenience benefits that you see. there's also an element of the whole like green bubble, icky feeling of using a website kind of thing as well. So there's like, joking aside, there's obviously some real things there. Okay, fine, cool. Yeah. So like I said, we have an app, and I'm not entirely sure what the release status is on it. So I'll definitely find out what's going on with that. Thoughts on Leet Clicker? So I think Leet Clicker right now, I need to basically take a look at the web workers and see what the crack is. But I think it's absolutely 100% a Cloudflare worker issue. I'll be honest, I've just had such a busy weekend. I've not been able to open it up. I did notice, Vitos, that you started a decommission or pause Leet Clicker, and I would say that's middling around halfway up the feature request, so the support of such a thing. Yeah, I don't know. Let me see how that conversation goes. Let me see what people do. I will fix it, by the way. The authentication issue that's crashing the app right now, I'm going to fix that. But I do think there's a kind of broader discussion still to be had, and you started it in the feature request dashboard. So for those of you who have not checked it out yet, Vitos has started a feature request conversation. By the way, I think we might end up changing this feature request name to discussions, something like that, because I think this is definitely going to be used for more than just application development requests. But anyway, check it out. Vitos has started a conversation for decommissioning and pausing Leet Clicker. That's not to say that it won't be fixed. It will be back online next week for sure, and an announcement will go out. But there is definitely a conversation being had right now. So you guys do check that out if you get a chance. Okay, cool. So another one, Prasanth asks, will we basically be coming off B&B? I don't think we'll be coming off B&B for the foreseeable. We did obviously launch on Base, so you can trade GMR on Base, but uptake on Base has been low. Volume has been, obviously it's low across the board right now, but specifically B&B is where most of our investors and traders find themselves working. So I don't think we'll be leaving B&B. In terms of having our own blockchain, I'm not sure that we need our own blockchain. Of course, there are obviously going to be some benefits for having our own blockchain. I'm just not sure that we need one. I think the direction that the market is moving, I think you're going to see a bit of a consolidation with these layer twos and different blockchains as people choose to use the kind of like more familiar stuff. I don't know. And also, by the way, there's one thing I really liked about Base was that their fees were completely like minimal. There's like hardly anything on Base in terms of fees. So I think we should in the future show a bit more love to the Base side of things in terms of our building of applications. Leet Lotto is still yet to be ported over there, and we should do, because I think there's a lot of benefits to Base. But obviously, I don't think we will be leaving B&B anytime soon. But just to be clear, guys, like that's not a decision for me. That's a decision for the trust as a whole and for Ryan as CEO, who will probably have an opinion on that. Okay, cool. So
question mark.
Yeah, go for it, dude.
Okay, so my brain's going blank now. Okay, you said that there is an app floating around somewhere. Did you develop that, or did someone else?
No. So basically, there are services that you can use. My memory is vague on this. This was a conversation from a long time ago, like half a year ago. There are services you can use that will essentially package and you don't even need it, because I even know how to do it, which was surprising to me that we did this. But you can literally take your web application and package it into you can wrap it basically into an Expo app that can be published on either iOS or Android. And it's funny because Expo is what I was working with for the multi-stream application. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is that this team was engaged by Ryan to do it, and they did it. They've not published it, of course, because there was a couple of things that they needed. I just can't remember what that is. So I don't want to venture a guess. I think it was something to do with the ability to close your account. because right now on the GMR Center, I don't think there's any way to actually close your account. So we need that anyway. So I'll have a conversation with Ryan and find out what the situation with that is, because if it's already built and it's great, then why not publish it? Because one thing I will say, me personally, I have like just a basic aversion to applications on Apple and Android, just simply because I'm not the biggest fan of those particular companies, even though obviously I'm talking on one of their devices right now and we use them all the time, but that's a separate thing, right? The point is that I actually don't, I do see one benefit straight away of actually having an application, and that's that, well, a shit ton of people will find your product because, you know, they look for apps. So there is that.
Another point on feature requests. Sorry to take up so much time. So my concern with the feature request system as it is, and I'm not trying to sound negative here, but just the amount of engagement on GMR Center right now is not very high. So I'm worried, like when, for example, you brought up earlier that Ultimo's request was a little bit further down the line. That's out of a total of like, you know, how many people vote maximum, you know what I mean? Like, so if they're not coming to check all the time and doing, you know, if there's not a lot of engagement, then requests that could be important may just not get voted up just because nobody's there to see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I think we have an obligation as a team to kind of obviously give awareness to these features in our community. What I will say is I'm actually surprised by the amount of engagement. I know it's not like hundreds of users right now, but it's definitely dozens, which is more than I would have expected going into this. So I think, for example, Phoenix's top ranked request at the moment has 13 boosts and 3 slows. So 16 people have engaged in it. And that's kind of consistent with the amount of people who turn up every day in our chats anyway. So I think the people whose voices probably matter the most, I say in kind of air quotes, are actually using that voice in this system. Now, what I would say is, right now, one of the features that are in progress is not even the top feature. So it's not that we won't pick features that are lower down the list. It just gives us an additional tool to make a decision. So, for example, when myself and Bestmark meet to discuss the upcoming sprint, we can look at this and we can say, okay, like this has got a lot of support, and it's something that we can do, and it's something that fits with our general agenda of what we want the app to be. So it's a no-brainer. But there might be, for example, finishing the streaming software. That could be a decision that Mark has looked at the general marketplace and feels there's a niche here that we could fill. There's opportunities to add additional sale avenues through this application. Okay, it's not got a lot of support from the community, so maybe we don't prioritize it a lot, but let's add it to the backlog because it is something that we think is aligned. So I don't think we should take it too serious in terms of like, if it's top spot, it will be next. But if it's top spot, you can guarantee that this is going to be part of the conversation and will most definitely get shortlisted, I think is probably the fairest thing to say. So I hear you, dude. And Ultimo, there is still hope, dude. I'm not against it. Like I said, I do think that with this specific feature that we're talking about here, I do think that there are opportunities for GMR with such an application. I personally don't think it is required, but I think there is definitely willingness from me to develop it. I don't mind. I think it could be useful. So yeah, anyway, so in terms of the feature request dashboard, first of all, I think there is probably more engagement than I expected when we first released it. That's what I would say. Secondly, as trust members, as community moderators, as just community members, it's up to all of us just to kind of give awareness to these kind of new features, so that the people who are here every day, who do have like an emotional kind of investment in the project and want to see the things that they want developed, like they need to know that this exists, because it's going to be a tool that won't guarantee what is developed, but it'll definitely inform it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay,
yeah, that makes
guys.
sense.
Okay, cool. Good to know. Good to know. So, all right. I think that's enough for tonight. Tomorrow there won't be a dev chat because we've done it tonight. So the next one will be next Monday now, or not at all. Just to recap on the big ticket items, timelines are in development. We don't have a date on that yet, but by the time we speak next, we should have a date for it, or at least a rough estimate. I'm hoping for a date, but we will see. The game should be in the hands of our moderating team by next week, and then we will see. And yeah, that tweet there exactly is what I'm talking about. That's the application that was in development. So as far as I'm aware, I think Ryan was a bit trigger happy with that tweet. I probably wouldn't have posted it yet. But that application is built, and there is something holding it up, and I just can't remember what it is. So I shall find it out. All right, guys, as always, it's been a pleasure. So until next time, please keep using the feature request dashboard, stay in the channels, and I will see you all in the next one.